Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a single fatal embrace from the epic Mahabharata. It's an act of passion that costs a king his life, forces a queen into an impossible choice, and yeah, it pretty much sets the stage for one of the greatest wars in mythology.
So let's set the scene. Our story begins here, in this absolutely stunning forest. It's springtime, you can practically smell the blossoms, hear the cuckoos. It's a real paradise, a place of just overwhelming beauty. And it's where King Pandu has made his home.
But here's the thing. This beautiful place, it has a dark secret. For 12 long years, this paradise has also been a prison. The king is surrounded by all this life and beauty, but he's living under a curse that forces him to be celibate. He can't even touch either of his two wives.
So, what kind of burden could possibly turn a paradise like this into a cage? Well, it all comes down to one single devastating curse. See, years and years ago, Pandu made this terrible mistake while he was out hunting. He accidentally killed a sage named Kindama, and with his dying breath, the sage laid this curse on him. The very moment Pandu is intimate with one of his wives, he will die. Instantly. For 12 years, he and his wives, Kunti and Madri, have been living with this hanging over their heads.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. You have to wonder how 12 years of strict discipline, 12 years of restraint, can just completely fall apart in a single moment.
Well, one spring day, he sees his younger wife, Madri, alone in the forest, and something inside him just snaps. He is completely overcome with desire. It's described as this overwhelming force, and he just wraps his arms around her like serpents. All those years of self-control? Gone.
And Madri, she is absolutely terrified. She's pushing him away, she's pleading with him, trying to remind him about the curse and the certain death that's waiting. But crazily enough, her struggling just makes it worse. It only fuels his passion. It's like his desire has made him completely deaf to reason.
You know, his actions are described as being completely out of his hands. The text tells us it's as if impelled by the Lord of Death himself. It almost turns this from a choice into something that was just destined to happen.
And just like that, it's over. In that very moment of embrace, the curse kicks in. A terrible pain shoots through Pandu's chest, his body stiffens, and then he just goes limp. His life is gone. And all Madri can do is let out this terrible wail as her worst fears come true right in front of her.
But believe it or not, the king's death is really only the beginning of the tragedy. Now the focus shifts to his two widowed queens, Kunti and Madri, and this awful choice that's born from grief, from guilt, and from sacrifice.
Hearing Madri's cries, Pandu's first wife, Kunti, comes running. But when she sees Pandu's body, her grief instantly gets mixed with blame and accusation.
Kunti immediately points out how careful she always was, basically implying that Madri failed in her duty, or even worse, that she tempted him. The entire weight of the guilt is just dropped right on Madri's shoulders.
And this just perfectly captures the impossible spot they're in. On one hand, you have Kunti. Despite her anger, she's begging Madri to live, to help her raise their 5 sons. Her focus is on the living. But Madri, she sees it totally differently. She feels her duty is to her dead husband, to fulfill the desire that he literally died for.
Refusing to live with that guilt, Madri makes her choice. She entrusts her own 2 sons to Kunti, saying that Kunti will be a better mother to all of them anyway. Her final wish is to be allowed to follow Pandu into death, to satisfy the desire that cost him everything.
Kunti sees that Madri's mind is made up, and maybe she understands the lifelong guilt Madri would have to carry, so she compassionately agrees. The funeral pyre is built, and as the flames get higher, Madri falls onto her husband's body, holding him tight as the fire takes them both.
Now, this intensely personal tragedy, it doesn't just stay in the forest. It's about to ripple outward and shake the entire foundation of the Kuru kingdom.
The sages of the forest basically tell Kunti, your time in exile is over. They form this huge procession to accompany her and her 5 sons, the Pandavas, all the way back to the capital city, Hastinapura, carrying the ashes of their parents.
When they arrive, the court of the Kuru elders is just astonished. A leading sage steps forward to address everyone. He tells the story of the boys' miraculous births, their divine parents, all part of what he calls the inscrutable plan of the gods.
And then he drops this bombshell. He declares that because Pandu left these virtuous children behind, he has ascended to heaven, and these 5 boys should now be accepted as the kingdom's rightful heirs. You could have heard a pin drop.
But right at this moment, just when you think a new future might be dawning with these heirs, a dark shadow falls over the whole court, and it comes in the form of a terrifying prophecy.
The great sage Vyasa, the traditional author of the epic itself, suddenly appears. But he doesn't talk to the court. He goes privately to his mother, the ancient queen Satyavati, and his warning is serious. Get out of the city now, so you don't have to witness the horror that's about to unfold. And his parting words are just chilling. He predicts the coming of a dark age, an age of sin that will see her entire family, her entire race, destroyed by their own evil actions. A great havoc is coming to the world, he says, and it all starts now.
And that's where this chapter leaves us. A personal tragedy has snowballed into a political crisis. Instead of bringing peace, the arrival of the rightful heirs has brought a prophecy of total destruction. And the question that just hangs in the air is simple, and it's terrifying. What hope is there for 5 orphaned boys walking into a court of rivals?